Have you ever considered purchasing a 40 Series Landcruiser?
And wondered what are some of the things that I need to be looking out for when buying one?
Should I buy an original one? Should I find one already restored?
What mechanical issues should I be looking out for?
Where is the worst place for rust?
This and much, much more is what we're going to be talking about today.
So you want one, you're looking at the different ads, and there's a BJ, a HJ and an FJ. What does that all mean? Basically, FJ is petrol. FJ is petrol, everything else is not. You've got your different variants. HJ is a 6-cylinder diesel, and there's two to choose from, 45, 47. HJ, 6-cylinder diesel. BJ, 4-cylinder diesel. It says FJ40, that's a shorty. If it's a 45, that's a long wheelbase. So FJ45 is a ute or a trippy, it's a long wheelbase. Really the most popular is your HJ47, that's your 2-age, the ones that are easy to do your modifications on. But then there's also your BJ. BJ, B is the B engine, and that only comes in a shorty. You've got a BJ40 and a BJ42.
Here at Mr Landcruiser, we find that a lot of cars, they're Bitzers, right? So if you're going to buy a 40 Series, you want to make sure that it's got the right cab on the right chassis, it's got the right suspension under it for the year. Now this can get quite daunting. There's lots of years, there's lots of changeovers. Here at Mr Landcruiser, we have vehicles come in and the plate will say it's a 1979, but the tank will be outside under the cab and it'll have big eye suspension. And their bigger alarm bells go off when you see things like that. So something's gone on over the years of this vehicle being put together. Maybe someone's used a compliance plate off another vehicle and they've put together a Bitzer just to try and get rid of it. Make sure that the chassis number, which is on the driver's side in front of the wheel on the chassis, corresponds with the plate up on the firewall. That's very important. Now if that number's been covered up or there are any signs of grinding or modifying that chassis number, that's also alarm bells. Always do an online check as well. It can't hurt, it's a couple of dollars, tell you if it's stolen or not. If you've got something that's had a turbo bolted to it, it's got brake upgrades, seat upgrades, or it had seats removed, or if it's had seats added, be very mindful of that blue plate and the engineering, because when you come to register that vehicle or get a roadworthy on it, if it doesn't have that blue plate, you will have to get your own, and that can be quite expensive as well. Yes, they are exciting, yes, they are very cool, but you don't want it to kill your dream by buying a dud. So be very careful.
Restored, original, what should I buy? Should I buy this farm banger really cheap and do it up myself and save some money, or should I buy one already done up and jump in it and enjoy it straight away? My biggest thing about 40 Series is some of the parts that we get asked for don't exist anymore. It could be an old H thermostat housing or a seat frame that we don't have any erection. You can't get them anywhere new. So buy a complete vehicle. Make sure the vehicle is complete. I think there is enjoyment out of grabbing something that's ready to go, but it's horses for courses, because a lot of guys and girls like to restore stuff, like to tinker with stuff, like to be part of the journey. And that's where, if you pick up something that needs work and you're going to give it a bash yourself, you're saving a lot of money, and you've got support from places like Mr Landcruiser that sells parts, has knowledge you can draw on and things like that. Just make sure it's complete, because missing bits can be hard to find. You can repair broken bits, but missing stuff can be hard to find. I also find, depending the application, if you want to go touring in a car, maybe don't buy a 1962 original and off you go, or don't buy a HJ45 that's missing a few engine parts that you can't buy anymore. If you haven't bought one yet, you want to tour, you want to deck it out with all the fruit, think 1980s.
I'd be much more inclined to buy something where it's obviously got the original patina, or it has got a bit of original rust, but at least you can see it. Look, an age-old trick for buying a car, take a small magnet with you. Pop it along different places where you get usual rust on a 40 Series or a 60 Series, and just see if that magnet holds on. If it doesn't, it generally says that there's a fair amount of bog there, stopping the magnet from touching the metal. Other than that, look, 40s are obviously, they rust everywhere. Floor pans, uppers, guards, especially the front panels.
There are other places in a 40 series to look for rust. We live now in a lucky market where there is an answer, but that answer still requires a bit of coin, be it used is pretty hard. No one's wrecking nice looking 40 series. So people ring up and say, do you have a rust-free door, preferably in mustard? No, we don't. We would never wreck a rust-free car. They don't exist in the wrecking game, or they shouldn't exist in the wrecking game. So rust. But you can buy Chinese replacement panels that with a bit of Federline you can fit them, or you can cut it out and have a go yourself. Your bibs, your floors, your roof, it's all fixable, but do you have the budget? So when you're looking at a project, think budget as well. Ask a few questions. How much are these panels going to cost before you go, yeah, I can do that?
So everything can be replaced, right down to basically a new tub and everything, right? So really, rust isn't a problem when it comes to, if you're willing to put in the work to get one back on the road. I think the main problem is actually the chassis on a 40 series. Because the 40 series chassis is a two-piece chassis riveted together, there's the opportunity for debris, moisture to get in between those two sort of meeting surfaces. The expansion of the rust will actually bring the chassis apart between the rivets, and you can see that quite clearly. So make sure you get under a vehicle, check the chassis and the inner chassis. If you found that there's a lot of debris still inside that inner chassis, then that's big alarm bells for me. So water can be stuck in there, moisture can be stuck in there, and it's just going to be eaten out slowly over time as it sits in there. So definitely something to look out for, the chassis.
It turns a project maybe into a restoration. You just want a roadworthy, bring it in here, and then we find rust in the chassis. Luckily, the industry, there's chassis replacement components. You can find them on our website, but that's not a complete chassis. So a chassis can really ruin and crush your dreams. Lay down in the dirt, get underneath the car, take your time, put your fingers in the hole, feel around, and look for chassis rust.
Okay, what to look out for with wiring. It's really important that you make sure that all the electrical systems are working when you're checking out a vehicle. Now, wiring can be one of the most expensive things to rectify on these things. So, you're looking at a vehicle that's been around for 40, 50 years. Either farmers or owners have just been overlaying new wiring, messing around with wiring, putting old turbo timers in, butchering some spotlights in or something over the years to rectify that problem, or to really condense that down back into an original loom or something like that, can cost thousands and thousands of dollars. These auto electricians aren't cheap. So yeah, it's definitely something to look out for. The 40 series, have a look up underneath the dash behind the fuse box. You will find that a lot of guys will just shove as much wiring up under there as possible so you can't see it. And if there is a bird's nest of wiring, that is going to be an expensive thing to rectify. The most common job that comes into Mr Landcruiser is when a vehicle is brought out of a paddock or out of a barn and brought into Mr Landcruiser to get back on the road. Now, this adventure starts with what we call an extensive report, where the vehicle has no work done in it whatsoever. We get the vehicle on the hoist and we go through a checklist that's even more complex than a roadworthy. So we'll give the customer a detailed report of what we found wrong with that vehicle, and also, depending on the length of time this vehicle has been sat up in a paddock or a barn, this vehicle will also need every single rotational seal and boot replaced, because as soon as the vehicle goes up the road for any meaningful time, leaks will start to appear. So we try and hit that thing when it comes in.
All your suspension bushes, your sway bar bushes, if it can perish and it's been off the road for 7 years, 5 years, 20 years, everything's perished. Master cylinders, slave cylinders, perished. Discoloration in oil. Sometimes you can just poke your eye through the oil cap and see sludge. That's a sign that things haven't been serviced as much as they should be. So the colour of oil, in an ideal world, it would be really nice to look at diff oil, maybe a gearbox and transfer oil as well if possible, because a lot of times they tell a different story from an engine.
If you do have some maintenance history on the vehicle, just go through it. You'll be looking out for, has it been being done yearly, or what are the intervals between the services maintenance wise? Who's it been done by? It might be interesting. If it was looked after someone for multiple years by the same garage, why not see if they're still about? Give them a call, see if they still remember the car, because some of these vehicles have been looked after by older garages, and they'll probably still remember the car and the owner. And it might be cool as well to get a bit of the history behind it if you don't know much about it. The first visit to Mr Landcruiser might be an extremely daunting one. It can get quite expensive to get these things up to a standard where they're safe on Australian roads again. Once we've got to that level of maintenance, it's literally preventative maintenance from then on in. So as long as you're looking after the vehicle, bringing it in once a year for its annual service, then literally it just turns into a normal vehicle. You're maintaining your vehicle like any other modern vehicle on the road.
I find the most important thing, you've got one, you're enjoying it now, remember, it's 40, 50, 60-year-old and you're using it, and it might not be a full restoration, everything's brand new, so it needs maintenance, and it also needs maintenance. We're in such a good place now finding parts for a 40 series. I find it easier than other models of Land Cruisers now, because the 40s ran for so long. They ran from the 60s right into the 80s. Not just that, they really dominated Australia. I read that Australia is the second biggest importer of Land Cruiser in the world, and every farm had a Land Cruiser. Not every farm had a G60 or a Defender. Every farm just about had a 40 series. That was the foundations of stations and farms and landholders and mines. So supply and demand, there's always been a lot of parts. Here at Mr Landcruiser, we're fortunate enough to offer so much genuine. We get it in from Japan, it just blows me away. But where we can't find genuine anymore, at least we have an answer. Apart from that chassis, you could near build a whole car. All your panels, you can go through the whole car and build another one. So the 40 series community is so spoiled for parts, especially at MrLandcruiser.com.
You'll be able to see the wide range of panels you can actually get for the 40 series. It's actually quite extensive. And you, believe it or not, you can actually buy a complete cab. So, but get on it to Mr Landcruiser and check it out. From front guards to bibs to uppers to above the doors, there's the bows, doors, rear doors, shorty uppers, troopy uppers. It is honestly extensive. Just check it out.
New Toyota parts that fit these models, that's another exciting thing. From your 60 series power steer that takes all your 70 series parts, right through to a modern 79 series rear axle, where Toyota's kept things simple. So the same bearing kits, we can change hubs, minor modifications, same tracking as the front. Now you can run a 79 series on the rear of an old 1970s 40 series. So we're lucky they've evolved, and then we're also then going to other breeds of cars where now you pick an engine, if it fits in that engine bay, it can be done. Here at Mr Landcruiser, we have over 30 years of combined experience working with classic Land Cruisers like this.
So we hope this video helps give you the information you need to make an informed decision when buying a classic Land Cruiser. So we're here in Caboolture. If you're in the southeast Queensland area or further and you're interested in buying a 40 or 60 series and you'd like an inspection on it, it is something that we offer here at Mr Landcruiser. So
if that's something you're interested in, please get in contact. We'd love to help.
So if you need any help getting parts for these old Land Cruisers, check out the website and check out the extensive catalogue of parts we have on there.
And if you'd like to see more of our work firsthand, just click another video.
And check out the wide range of classic Land Cruisers that we work on here at Mr Landcruiser.